Delighted to have Inez, Rachel, and Camilla with us. We seem to be having a little technical issue with Zoom today. So we'll just see if Rachel and Camilla, can you speak, please?
Yeah. Hi, I'm hoping we come up.
Camilla came up, so maybe Rachel just switch off and switch back that video.
That's just what I did. Turn the video on and off. Ah.
And then on again, please.
There we go.
There we go. Voila, we all made it. Zoom has allowed us that flexibility now. So once again, welcome to all three of you. To kickstart, this has been a subject that's dear to all of your hearts. With Finstep as well, we work closely with the Alliance on research regarding how fintechs are catering to women and how we can, increase that focus globally, including with the hackathons that the Alliance is conducting. What I would like to start off with is brief introductions. So I'll hand it over to each of you to introduce yourselves and your organizations, and then we'll dive into the panel itself. So starting off with Inez, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Inez Murray. I'm the CEO of the Financial Alliance for Women, which is a trade association of commercial financial services providers who all target the women's markets with viable commercial value props that include financial and non-financial services.
And I'm Camilla Bullock. I'm the CEO of the Emerging Payments Association Asia. So we're a branch organization for participants in the payments industry. So anybody who moves money in APAC. I will also add I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sweet2Go, which is a boutique consultancy for fintechs in the APAC region, as well as the founder of Meet Her, She Knows Payments, which is a project within the Emerging Payments Association Asia, but is all focusing on diversity for innovation.
Thank you. Rachel?
Yeah, hi, my name is Rachel Freeman, and I lead growth at Tyme. Tyme is a multi-country digital banking group. Tyme Bank in South Africa is our flagship project, and we have about 5.3 million customers. And recently, Tyme has become the founding shareholder of Tribe FinTech, which was started by founder Mo Harvey. And Tribe is providing a kind of an ecosystem in a box. So for small and micro businesses, Tribe provides all of the tools in terms of business tools, educational tools, and a community platform that can create a number of different walled gardens, all within an overall walled garden. This is a B2B platform for banks, and we are now live. Tribe is live as Tyme Tribe in South Africa.
Perfect. So I'm going to kickstart this conversation with you, Inez. We've been, as you mentioned, looking at this sector in terms of how can fintech cater more to women, right? As the Alliance has been championing how financial services and banks should be catering to women, why should fintechs cater to women more actively and directly, right? Rather than just as, as another customer. May seem like an obvious answer, but it still needs to be addressed, and we'd love to get your views and thoughts on this, please.
Sure. Thank you, Musheer. Well, the first point to make is that women are more than 50% of the population, but they're also controlling $216 trillion in wealth globally. And that trend of increased wealth for women is driven by a lot of very positive demographic trends, as you know, in terms of increased education levels, starting businesses at greater rates than men, et cetera, et cetera. So all the demographics are super positive in the direction of the female economy, as we call it. And at the same time, what you find with women is that they are the most dissatisfied with banking of all consumer services. So you see this gap between, let's say, the actual spending power of women and the kind of services that they're receiving from the financial services community. So they're either underserved or they're unserved. So we also have a lot of women who actually don't have any access at all yet. So this is what we call the gender gap, right? The difference between the amount of or percentage of men that have access and the percentage of women. And when we look at fintechs, we find that that gender gap is 3 times larger than it is in terms of access to a basic bank account. And so that gender gap it means that for every 100 men that are using fintechs, just 72 women are using fintechs. So that's the gap we need to close. And so what I think is it's very easy to see this as really almost personifying what's gone wrong with the incumbent banking sector in terms of not serving women well by looking at the fintechs and making basically the same mistakes. So what they're doing is they're really ignoring the women's market. They don't believe that it's different to men. They're not designing and providing solutions for women. They're not making it easy to get involved and participate in fintechs. They're basically fixing, if they're doing anything, a minor piece of the marketing mix in order to get women. And that's a kind of mistake that we've seen in the incumbent. So what we've done in 2020 with you, and then in 2021 also, is done some research into fintechs. In 2020, it was a quantitative survey that ended up with 178 fintechs answering the full questionnaire. And that found that the majority of fintechs that do track performance indicators by sex found that the business case is very compelling for targeting women. 64% of them found that female customers have a similar or higher usage rate than men, and likewise that lifetime value is similar or higher for women. And in 2021, we did a follow-up piece of quantitative research that looked at the sales funnel and quantified the money that was left on the table by not having conversion rates equal for men and women through each stage of that funnel. And what we found, and I can get into details later, is that if the conversion rate was the same for female as it was for men, that fintechs could add up to 70% to their revenues if they just had that kind of equal representation.
Thanks, Rachel. Sorry, Inez. Rachel, coming to you, you've been looking at that market prior to being with Tyme, and now with Tribe as well. In your opinion, have things changed? Have they improved in the last 2-3 years? Are we seeing more focus on women customers by fintechs? And if so, how deep is this focus that you feel like Tyme has that focus, but generally in the market, what are you seeing?
I think that there is growing recognition that there needs to be a segmentation and that women is a very strong segment. And at Tyme, we have proven this. We are now at around 60% of customers at Tyme are women in South Africa. But there still are major gaps. And actually, Tribe was founded on the basis of reading the material from the Financial Alliance for Women and other institutions that said that women entrepreneurs are looking for more than just financing from banks. They're looking for non-financial services. And as Tyme was going into business banking and segmenting both social sellers as well as tradespeople, there are a lot of women entrepreneurs there who are looking for those non-financial services, which is why we were attracted to Tribe, because Tribe provides that. And it makes it easy for us because instead of integrating one by one to all those different non-financial services, we could just integrate with Tribe, and then Tribe provides this. Now, when we look at women entrepreneurs, there's less of a network, there's less of kind of funding opportunities, there are less services. And so there is a little bit more that banks are being asked to do for women. And we see that as we start to provide these services like Tyme Tribe in South Africa, that there's growing interest among women SMEs for our products. So we launched about all of our business banking products about 6 weeks ago, and we're starting to see a lot of intake on all of the different products.
Right. I think even from otherwise, like some of the things that we are seeing from our side in Finstep Asia when engaging with some of the customers, but beyond that, I'll give an example of where we see a little more increase is in India. We are seeing more women-focused fintechs come up, also get funding, either supported through major organizations. I've also seen a marked difference in how digital currency and digital asset firms are trying to market, showcasing a lot more women users, rather than focusing only on male users. That is one of the indications of unintended bias maybe, or not thorough targeting, and that I feel is moving in the right direction. And we hope the work that the Alliance is doing and all of you are doing can be very useful for that, right? A heads up to the Alliance hackathon. which is taking place in the coming month. In the sense, applications are open till September 15th, inviting fintechs from across the world to participate. This is supported by global institutions, including IFC and the MAS, and banks such as HSBC and Citibank. So do sign up, and the details will be on our website and otherwise. Now, coming to you, Camilla, both in your current role and otherwise as well, how can, in your opinion, how can non-women-only focused fintechs improve their services, products, design, marketing to cater to women customers? Like, what do they need to do? And we've spoken about the why, we've spoken about what's happening now, but what do they really need to do to not move the needle, but actually make a change and see the impact and increase their bottom line, essentially? Camilla, you're on mute.
So I think there is three areas, and I always get quite fired up when I sort of prepare for a panel on this topic, when I go away and I check some research and I go like, can't be true, or like, is it really like this? But it's first segmentation, to look at the demand and the underserved in your customer group or potential market, to see what is the actual need. And there is a homogeneous group out there that feel that they are underserved, as looking at Inez research. But what is the need that we haven't fulfilled with products? Then go away and create those products. And I don't see the need in labeling all those products as products for women, because there might be also other groups that has this need. And you have this risk when labeling a product for women that you limit the usage of it. And it doesn't go as far as probably several people have heard when I'm talking about that the suitcases with wheels didn't come to the market before 1972 because it was seen as a female product and they didn't think it would be a demand for it. So to really don't get stuck in that pigeonholing products as for women, but be aware of which segments that has needs that aren't fulfilled. So number one. Number two is diverse team and innovation. Like, the innovation are just going to go as far as the thoughts are diverse when you're creating products. And then probably something I know Rachel also is passionate about is the funding. Make sure that the people that has the money to invest into those fintechs and products are not missing the good ideas because they don't understand the need or are not listening in the same way. I think it's super important that already from the beginning, the funding teams are also as diverse as the needs in the market. So I guess it is for the fintechs to be aware about those three things. So segmentations, diverse team and innovation, and diverse funding teams.
Thanks. Inez, the research has that indicated quite a few of the points that Camilla has also mentioned. In your viewpoints, what are the things that you think needs to be top priority for these fintechs who are not specializing only on women?
Yeah, I think just building on Camilla's segmentation point, basically if you just look at your data and ask the right questions, so it's important to understand the performance of the women's segment and sub-segments within it at each stage of the funnel. But of course, it starts with at the beginning when you're designing your fintech, and is to quantify the market, the women's market as well as the men's market, and look at that total addressable market and serviceable obtainable market disaggregated by sex. And then once the traffic starts hitting the platform, sex disaggregating the conversion rates at each step in the funnel, to identify the friction points and barriers and figure out how to unblock those. And in the report that we have, which is, you can get it on the website, our website, financialallianceforwomen.org, in the library section, just search for fintechs in there. You will see a lot of case examples. So what we did was we looked at that funnel, and we looked at specific fintechs that had overcome barriers at each stage of that funnel. So for instance, in the credit and lending fintechs, what you do see is there is some bias in the algorithms, in the credit algorithms. This is well known now at this point, but putting in structural, or should I say, indicators in there that have structural bias within them. So that would be education levels, income levels, education levels in some countries, that automatically, if you like, penalizes women, as opposed to looking at things like repayment rates, which actually are positive for women because women do pay back the loan so faster or better than men do. And so debiasing those algorithms, we have a case of a credit and lending fintech in Mexico would add 20% to their revenues just by getting more women in and lending them more money. So it's not a difficult thing to do because most of the fintechs actually do have the sex segregated data. It's just, and frankly, that they haven't even thought about it yet. So as competition increases in the fintech sector, if you're looking at the neobanks, for instance, there's basically very little differentiation. You know, it's going to end up, I think, like the commercial banking sector, where nobody cares who they bank with. Really, it's just about a convenient having a service. If you really want to capture the market and do this well, you have to look at, how do I cultivate female customers? How do I build that trust? Why aren't more coming into my platform? How about word of mouth? I mean, Tyme, which Rachel can share some insights for you, has really looked at cultivating this customer base, being based in the community, having those sales agent, combination of technology and touch. There's a lot of things that can be done to get those women into the fintech and then through the funnel. So basically, look at the data, understand what it's saying, sit down with your hopefully diverse team and unpack that and try to remove those barriers.
Thanks. Rachel, do you want to just add to that?
Yeah, I mean, we follow very closely what the Financial Alliance for Women is saying, and we believe in what their reports say, and we track that. You know, we started off with sex disaggregated data, like all fintechs from the beginning, and track closely. We've done similar studies that show that we are truly serving low-income people. And based on this, we thought, how do we serve more, or how do we look at more? And so we did a lot of research on how to work with social grant recipients, and realized that some of our processes had to change. Once we changed that, we've onboarded almost 1 million social grant recipients with Tyme. And so now we're serving them profitably and actually helping them become digital, learn about financial, become more financial literate through our ambassadors that are going into social grant offices. So there's a lot that we can, and once you start actually looking at the data and thinking what makes sense, we're now taking that right to business banking. And so what we see is that the data that we'll be able to get from working with Tribe FinTech enables us to even think how better to serve these new kind of owner managed businesses. So we're working with mainly not the larger SMEs, but owner-managed businesses on the ground. A lot of those are selling on Instagram and Facebook Messenger. And how you do that is think about what types of products and services they need. What can we provide them and manufacture ourselves? But what can we provide them in terms of tools and services, and what's the easiest way to do that? Which is why we combine forces with Tribe FinTech, which is open to, a number of people say, is it just for women SMEs? But it's not. It's open to all SMEs. It's looking at what are the real needs of micro and small businesses and how do we solve those? But it happens to have looked at both male-owned businesses, women, and think what is the total need in the market for these types of businesses. So using a lot of the tools that were developed by Financial Alliance for Women.
Understood. I'm going to come back to you, Rachel, on the next question, where when we're looking at investment landscape for women-focused fintech, right? How deep is that? And as an extension, women-founded fintech, so in terms of the landscape, what are we seeing from ease of raising investment to size of investment checks? Your views first, and then I would love to get Camilla and Inez's inputs as well. Yeah.
So I've talked a lot about this in different webinars for the last couple of years and with different groups. However, it was more, I would say, kind of based on my IFC experience, what I talk to people, but not hands-on. However, as the Tyme board representative on Tribe, I joined a number of meetings about fundraising for Tribe FinTech in its angel round. Now, angel is more like friends and family, but and it really turned into that because Tribe was able to raise funds, particularly in Ireland, where the founder is from. However, it is a very challenging. I mean, it is shocking to sit in meetings with angel investors, with VCs, and have them talk about all of the different investments that they've done. And then you say, have you ever funded a female founder? And the answer is 0. And it was over and over again. And it really hit home for me that it is much more challenging. The questions are much more detailed. The interest in funders to take risk on female founders is very different. Like, we will be in meetings where someone will say, "But yeah, I raised $12 million based on, I didn't even do a deck." Okay, that's not what the experience of women founders are experiencing there. It's you know, what is the actual kind of business, all the different pieces of it, data rooms, a lot of information, lots of questioning. Are you sure you have many clients? I mean, this is after Tyme had already committed to being a client and committed the investment that was put in. So it's a very different experience, and it made me feel even more passionate. And I already felt very passionate about this issue, because it just seemed like the kind of the barriers or the challenges for female founders are so much larger than male founders. And we even at different times like had to have conversations like, should we have a male co-founder and try FinTech just to be able to raise money? And that is just a terrible statement. But in the end, Tribe was been able to raise, its full seed round, and is now really moving forward and demonstrating that you can actually raise money. It just takes a lot longer, and it's a lot harder to do.
Thanks. Camilla, your views on this?
Yeah, I'm laughing and I'm nodding because it's so Stone Age still on this topic. And first, I'm Swedish, and I think Sweden is known for being very equal. But if you come to VC money, it's the same story in Sweden as elsewhere. So you can't even point fingers to the workforce, or sometimes we go back and say like all the maternity leaves and all those things in social build-up would be part of it. In Sweden, still 1% of VC money goes to tech female funders. So it's something really deep-rooted in here. And I think we need to start to compare policies across the world to see who is tracking better, because I know actually in Africa, I think the track records for VC money is better than in the Nordic countries. But then also looking to this with, I read the research actually now before this panel, because I was just going to go back and see what's found, and it was an article in Forbes, from June this year. And where it said they'd done a research with MBA students where they put the pitch deck in front of them. So it was for Series A. So seed had already been done. And in some of the pitch deck was the same pitch deck for all MBA students looking at it. But if it was a female VC behind the seed round, they were less likely to get Series A. So it was seen as not being beneficial to have female investments. So we've always gone and said, females should drag up other females, go and invest and promote. But actually then that was seen as something negative in those pitch decks, which I was like flabbergasted by. So I think it needs to go back to look at diversity also in those VC committees, so that we can hear the good ideas, so they don't go by, because we need it for the whole economy, that those ideas and investments are coming forward. So I'm very, very passionate about this. And I don't think we should need to go and get a male name in the funding team. I don't think that this was a different but high level conversation and negotiation. I took somebody else because the person I was going to negotiate with wasn't female and youngish, I shouldn't say young, but I needed somebody with white hair and male. And the negotiation went much better when I sent this other person, because they spoke the same language. And sometimes that is acceptable, but not when we go across funding in the whole globe. We need to learn, listen out for good ideas, not who's actually telling you those good ideas.
Okay. Inez, any views on this? I know we did a bit of it on the investment side. We were doing the research and this has been followed up. Any thoughts in what you've seen?
I mean, I think what we found, Musheer, was that because of Black Lives Matter in the States, the kind of VC community out of Silicon Valley were looking a little bit at diversity in in the teams starting to, and not at all, by the way, at the female economy, but not at all at the customer base, but really a little bit at the diversity. But I think, experiencing what Rachel has shared, her recent walk around with the various early stage investors, that's real. That bias is completely real. It's basically a boys' club. And, how do you unpack that and make it more, how do you de-bias that system? And what are, and I think one of the important things is to give new VCs, or young VCs with less of a track record. It's very hard for females to get into it. It's not, the system is kind of basically stacked against you. So how do you create a fund of funds, for instance, that would enable young, not necessarily young, but female VCs to start out, so that there's, they're looking at that in the European Union, for instance, is a way of actually kind of seeding young investors, VCs. So we've got to look at this from a systemic perspective. I don't think waiting for the VCs themselves to embrace diversity, I just think that's going to take a long time.
Okay. I hope that changes. The numbers have, as we have said, it's a bit staggering that there's a percentage that's not even in high teens or whatever. We're talking about low single digits here, right? And with the last year being a boom for fintech funding, we should have seen more movement. But we do hope there can be more things that change, because a lot of approach needs to change in sense of there are VCs who fund women founders maybe, but there are some VCs who fund, companies targeting millennials, companies targeting, Gen Z or whoever there is that you're looking at. And that's, I think, one of the approaches that needs to change is to target women as a segment, not look at the gender lens necessarily, but just looking at the value that the women segment can bring, as highlighted by Inez at the top, right? With the multi-trillion-dollar market that it is and the wealth change, especially in developed economies that we are expecting. As we come towards the end of the panel, one of the things that I wanted to bring up is this metrics that quite often we try to bring in the startup evaluation game, right? The unicorn story. Right? I remember a few years back, 6-7 years back, when I was in the initial parts of being, setting up the FinTech Association of Hong Kong and interacting with people, I used to throw this question to others who were established in Hong Kong, saying, when will we see our first unicorn, right? And it was that mythical creature, as it were. But where do we see this coming from a purely women-focused fintech? Currently, I feel, from my knowledge, we don't yet have any women-focused fintech which reached a unicorn status. There are a couple who may be in a few $100 million valuation. But what do you feel needs to? How can we lead to that? We're talking about over 1,000 unicorns globally. How can we get that one to kickstart and maybe push through? Or am I looking at the wrong metrics? Is this evaluation metrics completely wrong, given what's happened over the last year? Why don't we start with you, Rachel?
Well, I don't think the metric's wrong, because I think that as a fintech, we think, when will Tyme become a unicorn, and when will we hit billion valuation? So we actually use this ourselves. So I actually think while it may not be a perfect metric, it's definitely a use metric. So that's the first thing. And in terms of when we get a female founded fintech there, it will be very, very exciting, and we'll all celebrate. But I can't think of any that are. I think the one that might be close would be One Connect with Binru. It's part of Ping An, but they've been doing really well. So I'm always kind of proud to see how they're doing. But we're going to keep working to make sure that we get those. But you need to, to create a unicorn, you need to have many foals, right? To those foals to grow up into unicorns. And right now, I think we need to create many of the full unicorns in order to create unicorns. And we're struggling right now in creating those baby unicorns. But there's also another thing. I remember reading a lot at one point about zebras. Instead of saying unicorns, say zebra, which are kind of more resilient long-term growth valuation companies, and that women-owned founders tend to grow zebras rather than unicorns. So I actually thought that was an interesting kind of metric to think about, and also zebras are real, right? Even if we would like to think that unicorns are real too, that zebras are real and they run on the ground and they do, achieve great things too. So I actually think we need to broaden the definition, though as a fintech, we do use this metric all the time.
Thanks. Camilla, your thoughts on this? Zebras, unicorns, kangaroos? Which way are you going to go?
First, I have to say that not to forget Tessa Vijaha from Sendit. She's the co-founder and they are a unicorn. So often speaking about the rare female unicorn from Indonesia. I don't know what animal to choose. I thought it was funny that I was sitting at a dinner and I spoke about this. And they didn't even know what a unicorn was to start off with because they weren't fintech people, not at all. And then I started to talk about female unicorns and they like, you're being very specific, Camilla. But I believe a lot in thought leadership. I think that's what I'm speaking about over and over again. We have to see more female thought leaders because that inspires everybody underneath. It inspires innovation and it also will make attract VC capital. And that's all it's going. You need somewhere to start. You need somewhere to grow from, and to be seen and be heard is so important.
Okay, thank you. Inez, last word to you on this.
Well, obviously we have Starling Bank as a unicorn, founded by Anne Bowden. We have Nubank, which is co-founded by a female. So it's not beyond reach here. But I do like that. I never heard this term zebra before in this context, and I really like that concept because I'm not somebody who's going to go around and say, you have to be 100% female focused. I think what we're looking for is essentially gender intelligent businesses that reach a fair representation of the human population as their customer base. So if it's 50%, that's fine. It doesn't have to be 75%. If it's 40, 60, that's fine too. It's just about getting an equal crack at the whip here, an equal opportunity. So, there's a lot of thought going into STEM and getting more women and so on into the entire system, and that certainly has to be done. But I would like to see perhaps not just new unicorns, obviously, that are female founded, but the bigger techs and existing unicorns really take on the women's market, because that's how we're going to achieve sustainable growth, inclusive growth. Everybody's talking now about climate, like all of that. That's only going to happen if women are included. And so long-term business success means inclusion. And so, I think there's a huge business logic here, and it's not about affirmative action or that kind of stuff. It's just, there is a strong business case, and you'll find that the money is going to go into those tech companies, fintech companies that really have this bigger vision going forward.
Great. I'm gonna, I think we've got a lot of great insights, and this is not just for the audience, but as we replay, for everyone to consider in terms of how you can take an action item. As Inez mentioned, it's not about affirmative action. It's actually a lot of business sense. There's an opportunity and money on the table that companies are leaving that they can really leverage. And one of the good things I feel with the churn on investments that's happened is VCs and investors now focusing back again on revenue, right? And on real value that the customers can generate. So with women having proven to have better lifetime value and slightly higher CAC, but CAC to LTV ratios being much better for women over the lifetime, this is an opportunity for fintechs to actually cater to them and improve their metrics overall. So as we end, I'll leave the last word to Inez to just quickly introduce the hackathon to our audience, and for the audience both watching on our live stream and other platforms, we'll be sharing the link to the hackathon in your chats. So Inez, final word on the hackathon.
Yeah, thanks so much, Musheer. So we run a hackathon every year. Tyme Bank won it a couple of years ago. It's a $25,000 cash prize, plus a lot of additional value addition in terms of exposure, global exposure. We've got an incredible group of judges from large commercial banks that are looking for fintechs that are going to help them to target the women's market. You can find out about the hack on our website, financialallianceforwomen.org, and you can register for it. It's on the Apex platform. What is it called? Hackoloseum platform on Apex. So it's a really great opportunity to learn more about the women's market, to get coached and mentored by the leading thinkers in the field, and then ultimately to get this global exposure and to win the prize. Maybe over to Rachel to share the impact of what winning the hack was on Tyme quickly.
So the impact is both externally and internally. So externally, like winning the hackathon really put us on the map. We were still quite small and really unknown in Asia, or just we were known in South Africa, but not known outside of South Africa. And so winning the hackathon really put us on the map, and a lot of attention from that. And then internally, actually, this really got people excited about thinking about the women's market. And we had done a lot of the research, and then we shared that throughout all of Tyme, and everybody really bought into this. One of the things that we presented was our partnership that we wanted to do with a company called Jumper. That product is now in South Africa and is called Sell on Social, Tyme Sell on Social. And that is how we started to learn, and we got into the whole market of social sellers, which is about a $500 million industry kind of segment in South Africa. But we would have never thought about this if we hadn't actually thought about the women's market. How do we do this? And then partnered with Jumper.
Great. So that's an opportunity that many other fintechs can leverage, not just in terms of the money, but the exposure they get and the connections that they make with great mentors and organizations. So on that note, I know we've overrun a little bit, so our apologies to the RegTech panel, and I'm sure they'll understand our request for them to have held on. So once again, Inez, Camilla, and Rachel, it's been a pleasure and delight moderating this panel. A lot for me to learn and a lot of insights for our audience. So thank you once again, and we look forward to having you join us for our future events. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.